Music. Yeah.
Milsurp Garage. All right, what have we here? Man, I've been avoiding doing this video because there's way too much history to this rifle. There's no way I'm going to be able to impart all of that to you from my brain. So I've decided to do a video on it anyway, and just talk about it a little bit, get your interest sparked, and show you exactly, what's up with mine. So, the Gewehr 88, the 1988, the 1888 commission rifle. What does commission rifle mean? Well, Mauser didn't have anything to do with this rifle, really. It was adopted by the... Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. The German Rifle Commission, who adopted this and also the ammo. The 8mm ammo. You know that 8mm round that we all know so well to be the German World War II round. Believe it or not, was not invented by Mauser. It was a product of this commission. It was the, let me see if I can find it right here. Where are they? It was this guy. I hope this is them. Yes. This is what Mauser invented, the 7mm round. The 7mm round was his baby, Mauser. But this 8mm round, it was originally called the M88 cartridge. It was around those cartridge. The basic gist of what happened with this guy was the Germans had a rifle that was pretty new. I think it was the 1874, if I'm not mistaken. It was actually a very advanced rifle for its time, but still with black powder, 11mm black powder, and came out right at a bad time because everybody from, I think, the Swiss and France, they were all working on smokeless powder. It was the fouling to come up with a smaller, high-speed round like these. It was the black powder fouling is what was doing them in. And so it wasn't necessarily a product of firearm design that pushed things forward, but it was of the design of the actual powder, the propellant. And when the black powder came into effect, everybody had to start messing around with their stuff. It was a huge advancement in these rifles, and this guy was hastily thrown together. There were all these people involved. There was a guy that was involved in this this barrel shroud that you see here. If you see this barrel sits inside of a shroud, which outwardly is a pretty good idea. It floats the barrel, keeps the barrel, from keeps you from touching the hot barrel. But in practice, it didn't really work out so well. There was a lot of corrosion inside. This was prone to getting dings and dents in it. But some guy did patent this, and that turned into a whole big mess for the production of this thing is that, somebody's royalties for that patent were in question. And Mannlicher here designed this type of magazine system with these end block clips, which are familiar to a lot of you guys, different rifles that use these. This one is designed to go either way, which Mannlicher's weren't. It was designed to be able to put in the rifle either way. This is an interesting little bit of advancement. But it does seem to follow that same like Mauser kind of design. There's a lot of people call this thing a Mauser, especially because outwardly it just appears very similar. There's the bolt removal button right here in a familiar spot to take the bolt out. But you'll notice there are huge differences here. The bolt head, first of all, we don't see that collar that goes along. This is that was big. That was Mauser's design. The rotating collar and the captive design. So the controlled feed design, which this does not have. This is more of like a Mosin Nagant looking kind of thing. See the receiver split here, Mannlicher style, without the ring, the just enclosed ring. And they did their best here with what they had, but there were upgrades to this thing, the 8805 and the 8814, that were modified to use regular stripper clips and things like that. But this is an unmodified one. This is an 1888 unmodified with the original magazine design here. And I can show you kind of how this thing works using modern ammo. I don't have any of that M88 ammo. I would maybe get some, but I would be kind of scared to fire this thing. Doesn't have the greatest reputation. There was some, catastrophic receiver explosion issues. That's all part of this thing's folklore. Apparently here, I have it up here on Wikipedia. I could pull this up in service history here. Some early models had flaws due to rushed ammunition production. See, a lot of times, sometimes these rifles get a bad rap, and it's ammo issues that cause these problems. You heard that whole 1903 thing about the early receivers exploding. There was a lot of talk that it will chamber an 8mm round, but it's shorter. It wouldn't be proper and wouldn't fit the receiver properly, but it would fit in there, and the firing pin would hit the primer if you were to load an 8mm round into it. So they think a lot of those explosions were caused by that, because just ammo laying around on the battlefield or whatever, just you might easily make that mistake. The rounds don't look that different. So a lot of these problems with rifles when you get right down to it, it's the ammo. But supposedly there's an interesting story here. In 1892, there was an anti-Semitic agitator named Hermann Alwart. He's a member of the German Reichstag. He spread, so you got to imagine, this is before World War I and World War II. World War II was so far off. We're not even in World War I yet. But he was spreading anti-Semitic conspiracies about the 88 rifles because they were produced by an armament manufacturer named Loewe and Company. We've heard of them. Ludwig Loewe, whose chairman was Jewish entrepreneur Isidor Loewe, who hold a controlling interest in Waffenbrick Mauser. And according to this guy's claims, he would either deliberately supply insufficient rifles, or along with other Jews, secretly exchange rifles with flawed ones after they passed the reliability tests, because he was a spy for France. And he denounced the rifle as the Judenflint, which meant Jew's musket. And after these claims were found insupportable, he was thrown in jail for 4 months for malicious falsehood. But that moniker with some never went away. It always stuck and carried through all the way through into World War II with supposedly they were concentration camp workers that were charged with, couldn't imagine that they would make them make anything like rifles and stuff that they had to rely on, but those types of rumors carried through for a long time in Germany of purposeful sabotaging of equipment and things like that by the Jewish community. Yeah, it's got a lot of interesting things like that. Just go to Wikipedia and go crazy. I don't want to do a video on point to Wikipedia, but I could do some things here that Wikipedia can't do, and I think that would be a little bit better. You could do your reading to go crazy researching this thing. The awesome thing about it is that there were all these manufacturers. Steyr made this one, but Mauser wasn't even a manufacturer of the commission rifle. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of a slap in the face going on around there or whatever. But you can understand why Mauser, the 1898, the Gewehr 1898, and you know why that thing came 10 years later kicking ass and taking no names, is Mauser was like, please, that thing, let me show you what I could do kind of deal, you know what I mean? And so these end block clips, they're really cool. These are snap caps, by the way, my realistic snap caps. You don't have to worry about them. And again, they're being thrown all over the floor, but that's okay. Making a complete mess over here. Let's get this started again. Everything's skidded off the table. So these are the Spitzer rounds here, pointed Spitzer rounds. They're not what the M88 ammo would look like, which had rounded tips, but these will suffice just to give a demonstration. This is the fake, all right. Let's try that again. So you push these in, typical of most end block clips. I just don't know why it doesn't want to stay in here. What is going on? It goes in, and it's in. Just stay in. There's something wrong. Fell on the floor, then it exploded. So there we go. It clicks in there, and you pick up the round, and then you are not capturing the round, as you can see. Oh, see, I wanted to get to that later to show you how that could be a problem, but you're not capturing the round. You're just pushing it in, and then when you turn down, listen. See, when you turn down, you're snapping the extractor over the round. Now, I don't want to turn it down all the way, because I think the Spitzer round is a little binding up there where normally it would be a little shorter because it would be rounded. So I don't want to turn it down all the way to charge it. But I do have that round captured now. So if I want to eject it, the extractor will pull it out and the ejector will eject it. Now here's where this type of action, not being the design that has a controlled feed, like on the Gewehr 98, let's say, if you pushed around this far forward, even halfway forward, you'd be able to pull it back out again and extract it. But here, you don't have the extractor over the rim of the cartridge yet. So the big danger is, and this was a big danger because repeating rifles were brand new to these people. They were putting in 1 round at a time. Now to have 5 rounds at your disposal was something new. A soldier could push this forward. Maybe he can't turn down on it. Whatever the reason is, he comes back again and goes forward and meets some resistance here. Maybe goes bang. I could feel right here that this is pressing into the silicone primer of the snap cap. And boom, you'd have a detonation there. So, of course, a guy like that is going to be like, you know, Sarge, my rifle just exploded. He's not going to, like, take the blame. There's a button down here. I always wondered if this takes out the, it does. So you could eject the partial. But look, even if you wanted to put in a partial one, you could. So that's why it's a pretty cool design. Even though it's floppy around and loose like this, that lifter in there will take up the slack, and you could just even push in 3 if you wanted to. But how jammed in there is that one that's in there? It's probably pretty jammed in there. I probably got to send a rod through there or something. Let's take this out. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting design. This end block. You can see the advancements. Just curious if I tilt it up, give it a tap. Nope. Will not come out. Will not comply. I will not comply. I used to have a rod like that over here, but I don't know what happened to it. But I guess we're going to have to get to that later. Let me show you the sight. The sight is kind of cool. I'm just going to zoom down a little bit here. So the sight, I didn't even know it did this, but if you notice here on the back, it has like 2 apertures here. There's a higher one, and then you flip this down for a lower aperture. I did not even know it did that. I saw someone else do a video on it, and I was like, well, how come I don't have that sight? And then I looked, and sure enough, it's there. This rifle is so worn. Everything just has that feeling of being so worn. And if you notice the sight here, this isn't sliding up and down a ramp. This isn't making this like higher and lower as it slides. It's just staying in one spot, because all this is to lift up and use it like this, looking through that way to raise and lower your sight picture. And that's it. Very simple. The bayonet lug, interesting enough, is on the side. See that? Very distinctive. Very distinctive look. Very distinctive with that barrel shroud here. I remember when I had this apart, there was a little corrosion on my barrel, so I see that's true, that corrosion does grow there. I do not have the cleaning rod. It runs through a channel underneath here. I do not have one. It's one of those things I've been poking around looking for, but original ones, they're like as expensive as the rifle. These are very cheap, these things. Then they're antiques. They're around. In this condition, I mean, it's like, they'd just be like a couple of $100, you know? But the original parts, like getting the cleaning rod, would be expensive. And the stock is so, like, still so oily, Cosmolini soaked. These things were used so extensively, like lending here and there, all over the place. The Turks, the Chinese, but I don't think this thing really went to many places, because it doesn't have that modification to bring it up to the newer look, where it took the newer 8mm round, the Spitzer round, and the original, not the original, the newer stripper clips, where you just pushed the rounds in off the stripper clip, and the magazine was self-contained. You know, the regular stripper clips that you would just toss. These end block ones, this is the original design. I don't think these were really around when they were. This one is kind of like a survivor that didn't get modified, you know? The modified ones, you see they have like a cover here, like something that snaps over this, so that dirt doesn't get in here, because you don't need this opening anymore. See, like I didn't show you here, let's just load this in again. It's kind of nice that just with 3, you could just put it in as easy as that. There it goes. That's all right, I'll find it later. Here, let me show you this again. Boy, this video is really dredging up the bottom of the barrel, isn't it? You know what it is? I don't really know much about this thing, and I got it because of its, why is it doing that? Maybe the, not all the rounds in the end block thing doesn't work so well. Can you top it off like this? Oh, you can, kind of. Look at that. They do go in there. Sort of, kind of. Not really. This type of experimentation is not working so great. Well, all I really wanted to show you was that when you load the last round, which didn't happen, falls out the bottom. There we go. Let's try this. When we load the last round, they're popping out of this magazine now. They weren't doing that before. So when you load the last round, it won't come out. Dismal failure. You know what? This thing is horrible. This rifle is horrible. All right. So these are aftermarket magazines, and this is supposedly an original, and these are hard to come by. But I don't know, they look so identical. I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe this is an older aftermarket and a newer aftermarket. I don't know. I hate to say just straight up that this is original on video, and someone's like, those aren't the originals, dude. But, yeah, there is a little difference in size. But supposedly the guy told me this was an original one. And they're supposed to be, like, really hard to find. But, don't use them. Just don't fire this thing. Don't. Even if you have that M88 ammo, just do yourself a favor. Save a life. You know what I'm saying? So what else do we have here with this one? So good. See, now I know why I held on to this rifle so long before I did a video on it. It's not a Mauser. It's not a Mannlicher. It's not... oh, yeah, that wasn't the last one in here. I think I just picked it up. Hold on a minute. That's where the last one was. Can we open the bolt? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to take it away from you and give it a good whack. And it fell out. Oh, my God, it fell out. Yes. Okay. So, here we are with the... Gewehr 88. No, the 88 commission rifle. 1888 commission rifle. There's no way this can make it to, there's no way this is going to make it to YouTube. I don't really know much about this rifle, but it's horrible. Oh, it's got a 1894 date on it. So in 1894, they decided to bring forth this horrible battle implement. It really was very widespread usage, you know, so I shouldn't really be trash talking it. But there is a book, if you're interested. I don't know if I did anything to spark that interest, but there is a book, the Gewehr 88 Commission Rifle by Paul S. Scarlatta. There he is. And there's a lot of information in here and nice pictures. But as far as collectibility, you could have a lot of fun with them because they're like antiques. See, here's the rifles that came before it. This is a nice book. I like this book. See the bayonets. Supposedly all different kinds of bayonets connected to this thing. I have my butcher blade. I have this guy over here. Let me get it for you. This is my S9805. It's really for the Gewehr 88. But I think back then they were using this. And it was like it carried through. I think this originally had like a saw blade on the back. But that was cut out. And then it has this like thick, wild... This thing, just holding this just really feels like this could completely be implanted into somebody's skull. This is a nasty bayonet. And believe it or not, let's get the... how can we do this? Let's get the front in here. Because it's a side mount, which is kind of odd. It does go in here. But this bayonet doesn't have a ring for the barrel. It just kind of rides underneath like that. Kind of weird. I wouldn't trust that. That's all loose. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing. This rifle is a terrible thing. Thank God for Mauser. That's all I got to say. Now I know why Mausers were so popular. In 1898, when the Gewehr 98 came along, this is what these imbeciles were toting around calling a rifle. With all these weird modifications to try to get it to function properly. I'm sorry if there's any fanboys out here, but this thing is junk. This is why Mauser needed to come forth with a quality product, and he did. So you're looking at the reason why the 98 shone so much is because Germany's Rifle Commission really... They really busted out the rotten egg on this one. Look, it had some kind of a plate back here. You see it? I see it. 1, 2, 3, 4. There was some kind of plate back here for something. You know, this one's definitely seen some usage, huh? This thing was carried for a long time, being as hand-worn as it is, you know what I mean? It had some kind of sling that attached to here, and here, and somehow, I don't know, some weird kind of sling. It went from here, and then had a loop through here. There was a thing that went through this, and then here or something. It's a unique kind of sling that I never put together. It just, it's soaked in cosmoline. It needs a total resto. Cleaning rod, sling, all that, and I'm just like, you know what? I hate it. I don't want to put anything into it because I hate it. And that's where this video is going, to reiterate my hate. So half an hour to come to the conclusion that this rifle